Hey guys, it's Luca here. Welcome to my channel. I hope everybody's having a good day. Happy hump day. Yes, so I did mention in my previous video that I was going to be touching on some things that I had been channeling lately. So this is actually part two of those channeled messages. So the message that I received after the first message was in reference to somebody's divine masculine, which may have been like a relative, a friend, an ex. But this particular individual is part of a group, and I received a channeled message about this group. And this particular group that I have been channeling, I'm not sure why I've been getting so much about them, but these individuals are a part of it. From my understanding, it seems like it's some kind of like Masonic cult kind of situation. And the issue with this particular group is that I'm not going to say that, you know, all Masons or people attached to the Masons, that they're evil, but this particular group, they are evil. And the group that I've been channeling about has been up to a lot of shenanigans. That's probably the best way that I can put it. But the main takeaway that I got from this was that they are a group, and I'm sure many of them do this, but they actively seek out the divine masculines. So they actively seek out divine masculines for the purpose of having them do their bidding. And normally, from my understanding, they're supposed to be, contributing something positive to the world, being in the upright, upstanding citizens, law-abiding individuals that give back to the community. And the part of the reason why they're supposed to be so interconnected with their community and have all of these connections to all of these higher up individuals is for the purpose of being able to exact change in a positive way towards the community. But this particular group is not of that variety. They are a dark group, and what I got from this particular group is that a lot of orders have connections to celebrities, but these are like the dark kind, the kind that you always hear, about in reference to like, politicians being in, PDF rings and whatnot. These are of those variety. So, yes, but the channeled message is this. I'm just gonna rip off the band-aid. They were targeting divine masculines for the purpose of energy harvesting and relinquishing bad karma or bad karmic debt. And they seek out divine masculines that are maybe not aware of themselves so much. They are not aware of their divinity. They are not aware of their purpose yet. So they seek out these masculines that actually are, what's the word I'm looking for, vulnerable. And they promise them this like really, epic life that's, full of, money and prestige and power and, women and like the clothes and the cars and the jewelry and whatever else it is that they're wanting fame, whatever it is that they're actively seeking in their lives, I guess. Targeting individuals that are like really thirsty for external validation, that are a little lost and may not really have solid role models in their lives, maybe an absent father or a negligent father, or whatever it is, maybe even just mommy issues. And some of them enter these groups for the purpose of having leverage to do harm to women. And that is essentially what I got from this particular group. This masculine that I channeled previously is affiliated with. And so the part that these masculines are not aware of is that the individuals that are higher up on the totem pole, I guess these would be the politicians, the A-list actors, maybe even B-list actors, but primarily A-list actors, people who are just in business, tycoons, like the 1% are at the top of this particular group. Best way to put this group finds these masculines, and essentially they like turn them out, so to speak. This group, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that wanting things that are worldly automatically makes you the devil. But this group that I channel, they are dark. They are very dark. And some of these divine masculines that are not awakened to their divinity, they get sucked into linking up with these groups because they're looking for a sense of belonging. I guess very similar to how inner city youths end up in gangs for the same reason. So it was like really sad, because a lot of these divine masculines end up losing their divinity by being attached to these darker groups. They're not realizing that essentially there are sheep being led to the slaughter. And what I mean by this is that these higher ups have a lot of like really shady goings on in the background. So they're the trafficking of people and minors, and the all kinds of shady dealings are going on in the background. And they basically use these younger divine masculines almost as like foot soldiers, and they're showing them this like really ritzy beautiful life. But it's very similar, I guess, to like the Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme setup, where you go into a situation thinking it's one thing and it's actually something else, and only the people who are at the very top are the ones that are actually benefiting from this. So these divine masculines, like, they get to, it's almost like they're fronted money by this group to kind of be, live the life, live the lifestyle seemingly. So almost like, I guess, in the terms of the music industry, where they like front them the money, but they owe crazy interest, on the back end, from their record deal, because they got an advance. So this is along those lines. So they actually recruit these younger masculines, the whole like, and the way that they recruit them, interestingly enough, separate from the, maybe the more upstanding ones, is just, like prostitutes and like drugs and, lots of sex, And the part of this that was the most alarming was that, so one, they bring these vulnerable individuals into the group, and other individuals that I follow, I've seen that they channel like bits and pieces of like what I'm talking about, but this was very, very specific in terms of the agenda for this particular dark group. So they are recruiting these divine masculines, I guess wayward divine masculines. They seduce them with, you know, the women and, you know, the glitz and the glamour. They entice them with the drugs and the alcohol and, you know, whatever else, and the partying. You know, we're on the yacht and we're in Ibiza and all of the things, and they're not realizing that, like, as they indulge, as they're indulging, piece by piece, they are actually creating holes, you know, in their aura. And this essentially is what is making it easier for them to attach entities to these individuals. So they're not understanding that some of the women that they're encountering, or even men that they're encountering, one of the reasons why there's so much alcohol and there's so many drugs is because they need to lower their vibration enough to be able to attach entities to them. So they are attaching entities to these young men that essentially these entities are how the higher ups basically are covering their tracks on some of the, you know, some of the things with that they're doing behind the scenes with this group. So they're attaching entities to these divine masculines. So they end up with all kind, you know, an array of addictions. And a lot of these divine masculines, from what I saw, don't make it out of this particular situation. So their purpose really is to just feed these entities and take on the horrible karma, you know, of these, you know, higher up individuals that are basically leading them to the slaughter. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I was just like, you know, there's a level of depravity and wickedness that you have to see the light in someone, to see all of this potential in someone, and then to see that as an opportunity to destroy that light. When you see it, it's like, oh my God, I can make so much money off of you if I can, like, destroy you and get you off of your path. And so a lot of these individuals will deter, you know, these wayward divine masculines from, you know, living a wholesome life and, you know, choosing a partner that's like upstanding, or choosing a partner that's not into like the lifestyle, or in some of the cases, what I was getting was that they they send out divine masculines that they have compromised, that have entity attachments, to actively then seek out divine feminines to also attach said entities to. So the only way that these groups are okay with these divine masculines, I guess, being in any kind of relationship with a divine feminine, is if essentially they agree to energy harvest off of them. And these individuals have entity attachments, and so all they're thinking about is like, I need to maintain my drug habit, I need to maintain, you know, my drinking, I need to maintain my wardrobe, all of these things. And so they're actually, you know, being pulled into this lifestyle on a lower level, but they don't realize that they're feeding entities that the upper, you know, the upper echelon of their group is actually eating off of this, and they're benefiting, you know, 10 times, 100-fold over from the energy that they're harvesting from these divine masculines and the divine feminines that they're targeting. Yeah, it was really dark. I was really shocked. It's like, why am I channeling this? But anyway, the moral of the story is that some of the divine masculines that are within these groups are starting to wake up because they are incurring karma. There's a lot of planets that are in retrograde at the moment, and, you know, Big Daddy Saturn is in retrograde, Neptune is in retrograde, Mercury is in retrograde. A lot of karma is like hitting these individuals, and they're like, why am I getting all of this karma? You know, the guys at the top, you know, they're like, oh, you know, we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's happening, but they are taking on the karma for the people at the top. But they don't know that, and also part of this is they have them participating in rituals that have other rituals going on the back end. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, I was like, this is a lot. This is really dark. But they have one ritual going on, and this is where, the sex parties come into play, because they're all, they're energy harvesting here, and they're thinking, oh, we're having a good time. There's so much fun, and, you're thinking like ditty parties, but this on the spiritual side of that is they're energy harvesting, and then they're attaching entities to these divine masculines who, if they stay on that road long enough, eventually, get completely consumed by these entities. And if they even survive what's happening, they, they just lose bits and pieces of their soul, along the way, until they're completely dark, like the individuals that recruited them in the first place. Yeah, so there's all, there's the encouragement, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong, I guess, with, if you have a kink or two, but they want to break them down so far as that they don't even really recognize themselves anymore, that they're just kind of open to whatever, however, wherever, and they don't really question it, because they have already done so many dark things, or they're so far gone in their drug addiction or their alcohol addiction, that they don't even really understand, like, okay, this person has put me in a position to now where, one, I've broken spiritual laws, and then I'm also breaking laws in the 3D, so now I am complicit in crimes, and now they're stuck. And essentially that's kind of like the gang setup, where you you commit a crime, and now you're a part of it, you're a part of this whatever. And I mean, to each his own if that's what you want to do, but I'm not gonna lie, like, I don't think that a lot of these divine masculines that are coming into this, that's initially what they're thinking. They're thinking that this is going to be a shortcut to success for them. This is going to be an opportunity for them to be able to have access, to get their foot in the door, to meet the right people, so that they can get to a certain level, to get, that status that they've been seeking, because a lot of them are actively seeking this external validation, which I'm not here to, poo-poo on whatever it is that they're seeking, but these people that are recruiting them have an agenda. I'm not saying this is all of these groups, but this group that I'm channeling, this is what their agenda is. Attach entities to divine masculines, basically, run them into the ground, use these divine masculines. A lot of them have various talents. They may have the gift of gab. They may be talented, writers, singers, musicians, artists. They're actively targeting these types of people that don't see their worth. So it's like, well, hey, if you don't see it, I'm not going to help you see it either, because that's not what I'm in the business of. And these people are dark as evil, and I really hated that I was channeling this, but this was a message that I was told to share. My guides have been pushing me to get this out. Let me see. I don't know how long I've been talking, but let's see. It is 3. Okay. Anyway, so I'm just gonna pull on this a little bit to just kind of get some clarity, like what's going on, like with these individuals. For my divine masculines that are in this particular situation, and for my divine feminines that are attached to the divine masculines that are in these situations. Please give me some advice. Tell me what's going on. What do we need to know for this collective spirit? All right, toil and labor. Marriage. Adjudication. Mature man. Coffin. Well, we're off to a crazy start, but I mean, just off of this, you know, hard work, contracts, some kind of judgment, somebody's under judgment. Then there's this mature man, and something is ending for this. Yeah, I'm gonna get into the true crime and see if we can get a little bit more clarity on what exactly is going on with this marriage. This may be a married couple, or this may be in reference to contracts, business dealings, something along those lines. It's crazy. Well, you can't save everybody from everything, but I do hope that for anyone that this message resonates with, that you are questioning what's going on around you. And if you find that you're in a situation that you are not comfortable with, and you feel like you are in danger in any way, that, you know, that you honor that feeling and do what you need to do to remove yourself from the situation, from the environment, from the individual or individuals that you may be concerned about. So let's see. Toil and labor. Neighborhood. Marriage. Hotel, motel. Adjudication. Mind control. Mature man. Mature man. Runaway. Coffin. Devil. Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm getting from this is this group may be being taken to court. This may have escalated essentially into a situation where people are aware of what these individuals are doing and how they're, you know, coming around into these environments and preying on these young men and destroying their lives, essentially. So it's like really crappy to see, but all right, let's dive in, see what they say. Tell me about the neighborhood. What are they doing to toil and labor in the neighborhood? Okay. Keeping a promise. Betrayal. Deceit, backstab, traitor, not to be trusted. All right. So, yeah, I mean, these individuals are coming into, I would say, coming into these environments. You know, like I said, you have like the whole gang setup where it's like, oh yeah, this is a brotherhood. And they're coming in heavy, recruiting these individuals. And the reality of the situation is that they're not there to uplift the community. And that's what I'm getting. They're working in the community, but what they're doing in the community is not what they're promising that they're doing. They're actually coming in there under under false pretenses for the purpose of energy harvesting off of these young men that have a bright future, that may be just needing a little bit of guidance. Tell me about this marriage motel. Okay, so falling apart, falling into pieces, shit's about to explode, shit's about to pop off in flames. So yeah, so like I was saying, these individuals have been basically, having these like hotel parties, these sex parties, much like, the dating parties, and they're getting caught up for this. Probably, like I said, the trafficking of the people and the, underage individuals. And yeah, they're getting called out for these contracts that they're having, these parties where they're essentially recruiting these young men, bringing them to these like hotel environments to recruit them to do, God knows what. And yeah, they're not supposed to be doing this. This is betrayal of the oath. I don't think this is, if you coming in to be a Mason, I'm not saying that, the dark orders don't exist, but your sole purpose is to destroy somebody's life, to destroy somebody's future, so you can make a dollar, and that's evil, especially if this is somebody that's, has good intentions, and they're, pure, which is the purpose, why they need to corrupt these individuals. So tell me about adjudication and mind control. Just gonna take these two. Yeah, adjudication, mind control. Getting played, manipulation, lies, and control. Check yourself. Okay. So what I'm getting from this is that judgment is being passed either in the 3D, the 5D, or both, for these individuals coming in and mind controlling these like vulnerable individuals, manipulating them and lying to them, and they're getting checked on this. They're being checked on this. And part of it also is these individuals, they're putting them at risk also for all kinds of diseases, so on and so forth, just because they're putting them at risk, and these individuals know that they're putting them at risk when they're trying to suck them into these contracts. And these young, vulnerable, individuals, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and these don't even have to be super, super young men. These can be, easily, more than likely, like the range that I'm getting is like, late teens all the way up until, 45, 50, depending on what their particular calling is in life. Some people are late bloomers, but they're putting these individuals at risk and controlling them, having them involved in organized crime, trafficking, all kinds of things. And yeah, they're getting checked by the divine for putting these divine masculines at risk. They may even have banded together for the purpose of calling these individuals out and like possibly taking them to court for brainwashing them and destroying their lives. That's what I'm getting. Tell me about mature man runaway. All right, so we have outdated, expired, old news, discarded. Already knowing the tea. So this mature man, this may be the ringleader. He is trying to get away, basically saying like, oh, well, I've already done all these things. I've already gotten away with it. Oh, well, this is something that y'all need to deal with because you chose to go along with what it is that I, set for. And all these people that, there's hierarchy within, but I'm getting that this is the one at the top. This one is the one at the top that what I'm getting is, if they are part of, the Masons, whatever, this individual is like the the ringleader for the this particular faction that is doing this, because what I'm getting is he may be operating under he's close.